boys were raised in the inner city who lived on the same block. All went to the same schools, played at the same parks. Their mothers went to school together. Fathers went to school together. Their whole families went to school together. These 5 boys had love for each other. Until one day one of them moved 20 blocks to the west. Other one moved 20 blocks to the east. Another one moved 20 blocks to the north. And the other 20 blocks to the south. But one of them stayed in that neighborhood and never moved. They all joined organizations in the neighborhood for different reasons. Some to belong, some to feel protected, some for loyalty to the neighborhood, and some to protect the neighborhood. But these 5 boys are now enemies. Why? Because of the block? These boys don't speak to each other anymore. Why? Because of the block. These 5 boys don't hate each other, but they will kill one another. Why? For the block. The block. What happened to the love on the block? What happened to the community on the block where everyone held you accountable? People, it's time to get back to the block.
What's up, Chicagoland area? Welcome to the block. I am your host, Todd Clark. And listen, we're excited for you all to be with us today, this block community. This is episode 2 of this podcast. We are a solution-based podcast. Our main focus is having conversations that build relationships, implement strategies, and create solutions for community reform. Listen, we're excited today for you guys to be with us on this podcast. We have been planning this for so long, as I said last week on the other episode, that it's formulating, it's coming together. We're connecting with people who have like minds, who have like hearts for the city of Chicago and its surrounding areas. Also, as I said before, eventually we're going to be reaching out to other cities who have the same situations that we have in Chicago. Let me read this to you. The block exists to provoke conversations that will build partnerships, formulate strategies, and initiate solutions, which will directly impact the homicide rate, incarceration rate, and recidivism rate, and also high school dropout rate in the Chicagoland area. Listen, Chicago, listen, families, it is time for us to take our city back. We at the block are focusing on the 7 spheres of influence. Some of you may know it as the 7 mountains of influence. These are areas that talk about family, religion, education, government, media, arts and entertainment, and business. Why are we focusing on these areas? Because these are the key areas of society that, when influenced, they shape the culture and they shape our mindsets every day. And so we here at the block, we want to make sure that we focus on those areas. We're going to partner with organizations who key in on those 7 areas of influence. We're going to have people coming on talking about media. There are schools in Chicago that focus on media, that focus on business and entrepreneurship. And what we want to do is that we want to partner with them. We're not only just talking about information, but as I said, we're a solution-based podcast. Our desire is to partner with organizations who are already functioning, fully functioning, have programs, have activities, have events that cater to families in the inner city and also youth and individuals. So our desire is to say, hey, how can we serve you? And so if anybody's listening right now who may be a part of any organizations that fit those 7 spheres of influence, I'm going to leave some information at the end of this podcast, end of this episode, and I want to partner with you. We want to partner with you here at the block to get together, because how many of y'all know that we have to start at home first? We have to make sure that we start right where we are, and then we can branch out, and maybe some of the solutions that we may find here can help other cities abroad. And so, again, today we are super excited. This is an episode that we have been anticipating for such a long time. I have someone in this studio who later on I'm going to tell you who she is to me, but I'm going to just introduce her for who she is to the world. We have the author Tamara Greene, who is the author of, as you see the book here, Purposely Naked. Purposely Naked is a guided journal to help you accept all of you, even the blemishes that you choose to cover. And so we want to get into this book. We're going to talk about Tamara Greene, and find out who she is and how can she be of service to you. How you doing, Tamara?
I'm doing great today. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here at the block.
I am so excited to have
Yes.
you here. You know, you have been hearing your name throughout the city of Chicago. You've been having some events that you've been participating in. There's been a lot of um, focus on, and even on the news, we've been seeing a lot of information and focus on families dealing with trauma, dealing with individual trauma, community trauma, and so this has been ongoing, not only in the winter months, summer months, throughout the whole year, especially in the Chicago surrounding area.
Yes.
We have a high crime rate. We have a high dropout rate. We have families who've been disconnected. We have individuals who've been disconnected as well. And so when I picked up this book and I received this book, this is something that I feel like is very instrumental for such a time as this, that the community can benefit off of it, and it will help to shape individuals, thereby transforming the community. And so what I want to ask you, Tamara, this is something that um, is very dear to me because this is my life's work. I've been going to juvenile facilities. I've been currently work for as a social worker. You know, going into families and actually had an opportunity to actually go in to see how families function. When I was working in the schools and at the juvenile facilities, I saw the result: kids coming into the building. But now having an opportunity to go into the homes and seeing firsthand the family dynamics. And so I just wanted to ask you, I wanted to just start off by saying this. If you can tell us, even before we go into that, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, talk to the people.
My name is Tamara Greene. I am from the city of Chicago. I should say, just born here in the city of Chicago, raised in Ypsilanti, Michigan. Um, And I am a woman who has actually experienced a lot of things in life. A woman who actually has settled in the fact of her knowing of who she is in the space of clarity, of understanding, of self worth. It's been a long road to get to this to understand who I am,
Yeah.
but I'm here now. So your audience is meeting me at the
Yes.
best place that I could ever be in life because I'm fully self-aware, fully self-transparent, like fully transparent within myself so that
Awesome.
I can appear to the world purposely naked.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, I'm definitely just happy to just be here. I'm happy to still be alive, to be able to tell my story, to be able to live and breathe and be
Yes.
able to share space. And
Yes.
so I am definitely dedicated to our youth. I'm dedicated to the men and the women in the community, as you mentioned, Chicago,
Yeah.
surrounding areas, because we know that there's definitely things that have been happening, not just in Chicago, but throughout the world. You know,
Yeah.
we've been seeing a lot of different things that are happening, continuously showing up on the news. But there are people like us. There
Yeah.
are community, reach programs, like community, I should say, outreach programs where
Yeah.
people are actually in existence to help and to serve.
Yeah.
And so I'm a part of that community,
Awesome.
So, and I feel good about that.
That's awesome, and it's much needed.
Yes,
It's
it
much
is.
needed. And so I wanted to ask you, what brought you to this point? I know this is a work that, when you put the detail in this book, it takes someone who's not only who's able to write it, but they had to live some of what is in this book. And so what I want to ask you tomorrow is why is this book why was this book important for you to write, and what did it take for you to write this book?
I had to get naked.
Okay.
I had to get internally naked within myself, accept all of me, and it started from me journaling. So I've always been a young girl who had a diary, who loved to journal, to express myself. I'm very, very self-aware,
Yeah.
and I love to self-reflect. It
Yes.
doesn't take me, I don't have to have a New Year's resolution. I want to
Yeah.
reflect on a Saturday just because I'm here, because
Right.
I'm able to.
Right.
So journaling started this journey with Purposely Naked, and with me actually just discovering and uncovering and being okay with
Yeah.
the things that have happened to me as a child, the things
Yeah.
that I dealt with, experiences, things that I put myself in, situations, things that I did not. However, they're still my story.
Yes.
So the journaling allowed me to be self-aware, self-accept. And so when I actually had really discovered the fact that I had kept a lot of things from my therapist over
Yeah.
the years because I've always been in therapy. I enjoy my therapist,
Yes.
my weekly sessions.
Yeah.
I call her my girl. That's
Yeah.
my time to just go and express myself. And I have somebody that does hold me accountable, somebody
Yes.
that's supportive.
Right.
And so, with that being said, I also noticed that I control the narrative.
Right.
So, when you go to therapy, you can discuss what you choose to discuss.
Right.
You know, your therapist doesn't know what angles you need to actually address if you're
Yeah.
not telling your therapist.
Yeah.
So, with my journaling experience, what happened was is that I realized there were a lot of things that I didn't want to discuss. You know, over the years that I just held to myself.
Right.
But what I realized was is that I was holding it to myself and it was actually disrupting the inner me. And so as I continued to journal, I decided I'm not going to let anything go unturned. I don't want to not discuss anything on these
Right.
paper, you know, on
Right.
this paper, on these
Yeah.
blank pages.
Yeah.
This is mine. This is my life. This is
Right.
my control. I can control what I choose to discover
Yes.
and uncover within myself. And so with me doing that and being fully transparent first with me, I decided that, wow, if I can feel this good about myself and if I can walk the earth and feel so radiant,
Yeah.
and I can share this with you too, Todd. I was at work one day and there was a young lady who I will often see when I got off the elevator. She was our executive assistant. So she saw me every single day, you know, Monday through Friday.
Yes.
And she asked me one day, what's going on with you?
Yeah.
Like, are you dating somebody?
Yeah.
You know, what's going on? You have like a glow about yourself. And I'm just like, I don't
Right.
know what she's talking about. But to speed that up a bit, it was actually the fact that I was actually free from within. It wasn't a new guy. It was just me being new with myself.
Right.
And me actually expressing myself and feeling good about myself. So what she saw was the outer being of me from me accepting the inner.
Yes.
And so, as I mentioned, I said, Lord, if just one other person, if there could just be one other person
Yeah.
who can receive the blessing that I received from me choosing to be honest within myself,
Yes.
I want to write this book. I want to put this into a book. And so the term and the name Purposely Naked came to me. And I
Awesome.
said, you know what? Because I'm
Wow.
walking purposely naked. I am
Right.
so free. I am so self-aware, and it feels good on me.
That is
and so
awesome.
I show up feeling so good on
Yeah.
purpose.
And
you
it
know,
looks good on you.
thank you
It
so
looks
much.
good on you.
And it
you know.
feels great.
And so you mentioned journaling.
Yes.
Journaling sounds like it's a key part of what you were able to come out of and what you had to do. Why is journaling so important?
Journaling is important because you have a chance to just sit within yourself and for you to express within yourself. A lot of times we go through life and we survive. And I've been a survivor of many things.
Yeah.
And so within that in my life, what I realize a lot of times I'm just going throughout life surviving.
Yeah.
You know, I'm living, but
Yeah.
I'm surviving while living. And so journaling allowed me to be like, no, no more, you know, hey, even in the season of surviving and survivorship, I'm still going to at least be honest with myself
Right.
and not try to hold on to the reality of the
Yeah.
world and just go ahead and be in the reality of myself.
That's
And so
awesome.
journaling is just a way of expression. There's
Yeah.
there's no words to cross out. There's no scoreboard. This is your
Yeah.
life. This is what you choose to express.
Yeah.
This is your own. You know, you own that. That is a
Yes.
safe space. You can, let me talk to y'all. You can actually journal and you can actually talk to yourself while driving in the car, while you're in the bath, while you're in the shower. You know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even have to be written down. It's a way to self-express. Sometimes I actually just hit record on my on my phone while I'm driving, and I'll just journal, talking to myself about it. So it's just still a way just to express. And
That's
so it's
awesome.
getting it out of the body.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can also just write, and you can write, ball it up,
Yeah.
toss it out.
Wow.
But it's out.
It's
and
out.
your body needs that because your body is holding
Yeah.
everything that we go through.
Yes.
Things that we think like, oh, subconsciously, I don't want to think about that.
Right.
I don't want to, I'm going to push that in the back.
Yeah.
But it's there.
Yeah.
And your body, there's an amazing book called The Body Keeps the Score.
Yeah.
And it is one of the most amazing books to me.
Right.
Where it actually does really, get you to understand you can try to hide, you can try
Yeah.
to run from things,
can.
but your body keeps that score. Your body
Yes.
knows and remembers it all. So
Yes.
why not release it?
Wow.
Why
Wow.
not?
And that's something that, I think we all as individuals, we have to come to grips with that. We have to
Yeah.
recognize that we have, we all have come from dysfunctional families.
Yes.
Dysfunction. There's no individual, no family that's not dysfunctional
At
or,
all.
or that does not have a dysfunction. And so it's just different dysfunctions in each family.
Exactly.
So you talked about journaling. You talked about, what journaling did for you. And so what, because somebody may be watching and wants to know, how did you know what situation happened that maybe you don't mind speaking about that lets you know that you were still dealing with trauma?
Mm. Wow. Okay. So, while in college, I was sexually assaulted.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with that being so,
Mm-hmm.
um, I actually have situations daily with my bowels,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
For me, actually, a fight or flight movement. It's called fight, flight, or freeze.
Okay.
And so I actually froze while in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, I actually have a digestive disorder that has occurred since that situation
Wow.
from that sexual assault.
Okay.
So with that being said, with my doctors that I continue to see, you know, my
Yeah.
gastroenterologist,
Yeah.
seeing a functional medicine doctor,
Okay.
a new doctor some years ago, she
Yeah.
actually had said, what was the onset of when you remember your bowels changing? You know, she wanted me to do like a diary, a
Yeah.
journal of
Yeah.
my bowels experience.
Wow.
And so as I was journaling that day in her office,
Yeah.
I was writing, you know,
Yeah.
and then I was able to pinpoint
Yeah.
the day in which my life changed.
Right.
And I was
Wow.
like, wow,
That's
we don't
amazing.
even realize, but going back to what I said about journaling,
Yeah.
your body is holding all of that.
All of that.
So no matter if you want to express it, no matter if you want to hold it, your body's holding on to it too.
Yeah.
And so you can think, okay, it's absent, but it's really not.
Right.
And so that traumatic experience actually did so much in my life. It changed so much about who I am or really who I was as a young girl while in college. I changed my major.
Yeah.
I lost my full ride academic scholarship because I chose to change my university and walk away from that university after that particular situation happened.
Wow.
But from that walk, me choosing to walk away because of the assault, now I no longer have that, you know, that educational, you know, funding that I had actually received academically to go to that university.
Wow.
The bowel situation. Traumatically, it dealt with me for a very, very long time, not wanting to be around different guys and just different things, or me wanting to be a little bit more quiet and more timid. And I've always been reserved, but just more to myself vocally, because I was just like, I can't believe that this happened to me. Somebody who I considered a friend, you know, did something to me, you know what I mean? Because I was a young girl in college. But that traumatic experience, journaling with that, seeing a therapist at the time for that particular situation, still you have to go back and journal. You have to think about like the different smells that you remember, the different sounds, the, you know, I'm not even gonna go there, but just different things that, you know, you hear and you remember. And so even in Purposely Naked, I actually have guided journaling experiences where I'm asking, you know, what was something that happened to you, you know, before you were the age of 7?
Yes.
You know, because there's something that somebody may have actually dealt with. What was the smell that you still recall? You know, sometimes we don't understand even as adults why some people hoard and they want to hold on to different things because of the fact that they didn't have when they were younger. You know, sometimes you don't listen to certain musicians that you once loved. And the reason why is because of the fact that, you know, this has since happened to you. So there's a lot of things that we actually hold on to traumatically as people, and sometimes we don't even realize it's trauma.
And you know what it takes? It takes somebody, a brave person, to first of all recognize that I'm still dealing with a trauma. I'm still dealing with different traumas. Some people have several traumas in their lives that affect them, you know, in traumatic ways. And we know that sometimes those traumas affect our relationships, our friendships, how we function, our day to day.
Most definitely.
You know, and so you have a son, right?
Yes.
How did it affect you in your parenting?
Oh, guarded, you know, wanting to make sure that, you know, he understood certain things, you know, going over to a cousin's house, aunt, uncle's house, nobody is to touch you ever. And even to the point, oh my gosh, like so extreme on him that he understood that, hey, if I touch you inappropriately, you tell your dad. And if your dad touches you inappropriately, you tell me or you tell the teacher as soon as you get to school, because nobody is off limits. And so I always told him, if you go stay the night over like your aunt or uncle's house, because he was very limited, there were 2 homes he could stay the night over. And so if anybody touched him inappropriately there, he needs to come home and say it.
That's right.
But also understanding that he can wash up himself. Nobody needs to help you bathe. You know how to bathe yourself. You don't need to touch anybody. You don't need to watch anybody do anything inappropriately to themselves because that's what they choose to do, but you don't need to be a witness.
That's right.
So definitely my mother and my motherly skills
was affected.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
And the reason why I asked that, Tamara, is because, you know, you have a lot of people who's watching who have, as I said, I go into homes and I talk to families, I talk to children, talk to uncles and aunts, And the family dynamic, when I see them, how it affects, some people have trauma. Parents have trauma, and because of that, it affects their parenting. It affects how they relate to their children or how they do not relate to their children. It affects the connection to them or the disconnection. And sometimes the kids become resentful, not knowing what the parent has gone through, because the parent may not know how to express it. And it's like it's a standstill situation, and the parent loves the child, deeply, but it's that the trauma has not been healed, and so now the child starts looking for the affection that they desire from their parent from the outside. And so somebody may be watching right now who says, I'm that's where I am. I'm where Tamara was. I'm where, what you're describing right now, Todd. And so, what could we tell them as far as a parent, the first thing that they need to do to deal with that, so that they can be a better parent for their children?
I would say acknowledge their truth. I
Right.
would say you need to honestly take the time to acknowledge your truth. Be honest with yourself. And my son knows about my sexual assaults. He knows that, this happened to me while I was in college. He's a college student, so I definitely spoke to him before he went to college. Also letting him know, hey, no means no. So even as a young man, if I'm so raw when
Yeah.
I talk to him.
Yeah.
So even if, he's in the midst of a consensual situation between him and a female, but she decides that she doesn't want to do this any further,
Yeah.
you need to leave.
Wow.
You need to remove yourself. And if you
Yes.
need to finish off for yourself, go finish off for yourself. But she
Yeah.
said no.
Yeah.
And so respect is what it is for
That's
us.
it.
We are not going to force
No
somebody to do
violation,
something. No, we're not
Right.
doing that. So, but going back to that parent that might be in the home, I would definitely say be real with yourself. And then honestly, hey, if you need to seek therapy, go ahead and seek therapy. I'm a certified life coach. If you like to reach out to me, you want to have a candid conversation, you want to have a conversation with me, I'm willing to do that for free. If you just want to say, hey, Tamara, I just need to know where to start. I will meet you where you are. There is no judgment. There is nothing in this world that I'm judging anybody on. We are present. We are humans. We all make mistakes. We all make good decisions, but life is life. And a lot of us are experiencing different things, and traumatic experiences are still showing up in our lives.
Yes.
But if it is hindering you as a parent, please be honest within yourself and seek help. Because guess what? You can save your child too by you honestly being honest within yourself.
That's right. That's powerful. That's powerful. And for those who watch it, as Tamara said, that she has, we're going to give you a contact information at the end of the podcast where you can reach out. If she also does public speaking. She goes to different venues and talks about her book and talks about trauma, just giving information, asking questions and things of that nature. And so that's why this book is so important, is because in the book, some of the things that she's mentioning right now, as far as the journaling and the specific questions that help you to kind of assess where you are in this book, and so family, this is something that we at the Block, we are very passionate about helping families, helping individuals, because we know that the only way a community can grow is when the individuals are healed. If they're not healed as an individual, it affects everything in that environment, everything in that home, in their individual lives. And so, we know we have to have solutions. And so instead of us talking about what we see or what we've experienced, solutions.
Yes.
Because people want to know, how can I get out of this? And Tamara just gave for a parent, she just gave a great solution as a starting point. It's because, it's heart-wrenching when you see children going to other vices, getting high, using drugs, cocaine, ecstasy, they're using all kind of pills. They're amphetamines, meth, and things of that nature. Now it's more common, that I go into homes. Sometimes you see meth in the basement. You see, teenagers with their lips all dry, and because they're hurting, and not only the teenagers. And a lot of times it's generational. It comes from the parents all the way down to the children. And I've seen where the families have been just totally disconnected, where children end out on the street. Families end up getting evicted because they can't keep their jobs, because they're dealing with so much trauma. It's so much hurt. And it's one thing where if you have children and you're trying to fight, you're really fighting for your life.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to be as good as you can be for somebody when you can't even be good for yourself.
Ooh.
You can't even be good for yourself. And it's like, how can I love you when I'm not even sure if I love me?
Yeah.
you know.
And I want to say something too. There is a chapter. I actually have my book set up by weeks.
Yes.
And so it actually is 9 weeks
Mm-hmm.
because I actually want people to challenge themselves to go
Yeah.
through it. It's a very difficult
Yeah.
read for some people.
Yeah, it is.
But it is such a blessing.
For me.
It is such a blessing because there is a chapter or a week in there that's titled
Mm-hmm.
Removing Their Titles.
Yeah.
So going back to what you said, removing the titles of the parents.
Yes.
Saying their name. What
Yeah.
is your mother's name? What
Right.
is your father's name? Because I really, truly, and I had to go through this with my therapist.
Yeah.
I had to remove my mother's name and actually identify who she was as a woman.
Wow.
Because what I was able to identify is that I was willing to give another woman out on the street who I did not know more grace than my mother.
Okay.
Because with a title, there's an expectation. And so we think that, hey, this is my mother, this is my father. These are all of the things that they should know how to do. And these are the things that they should be doing for me.
Right.
And so what about them?
Right.
And so removing their title, actually seeing her or him, mother or father, or even if you're raised by a grandparent, an aunt or uncle, whomever your person was, identifying their name and actually identifying their story. Yeah. It is a way to see them. And I'm telling you, for me doing that one exercise has been such a tremendous revelation for myself and for my mother.
That's awesome.
Because now I'm able to see her as a woman before I see her as a mother. Because she's a woman first.
That's right.
And so I really feel like that is an amazing step for a lot of people to be able to say, who is my mom?
Yes.
What is her backstory? There are so many of us who actually have mothers who became mothers at young ages.
Yes.
They weren't equipped. They weren't given the toolage. And because none of us are.
Right.
I actually say that in the very beginning of the book.
Yeah.
Nobody gets, you can buy every book out there that indicates, new parents, new mother, new father, but it would never tell you the story and the direction to actually parent Tamara.
That's right.
It won't.
That's right.
It will not say this is exactly how you're supposed to parent her. These are all the things that she's going to need. And we also have to give our parents grace because they're doing their best.
That's right.
And as you mentioned earlier, they may have things going on with them that they don't even recognize.
That's right.
Because they're doing the best that they can.
Come on.
But the thing is that if we're not willing to see them, sometimes they're, as I mentioned earlier, they're just surviving. And so they're doing the very best that they absolutely can.
That's
and
right.
I understand that sometimes that trauma, as you mentioned, that's already set in stone in the household from the mother or the father. Think about absenteeism.
Yeah.
If the father's not there, the mother's not there, that kid needs either parent.
That's right.
A boy needs a mom.
That's
like
right.
a boy needs a dad.
That's right.
A girl needs a mom like a girl needs her father.
Yes.
And so it's not about anything else than that.
Yeah.
And so reality actually needs to be showing we as people need to continue to show grace.
That's it.
We need to show grace because grace in this space actually helps us all to be able to push through the trauma, to identify, hey, I've been sexually assaulted. Okay, your mom may have too.
That's
but guess what? She may not want to actually tell her story. But my son knows his mother's story.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because I want him to understand, hey, this happened to me.
Yeah.
And this happened to me, and while these situations have actually occurred since that has happened, but guess what? You see your mom as who I am today.
Right.
But there's a story to who I am and who I show you to be, right?
That's right?
Who I'm encouraging you as a young man to show up in the world.
Right.
But I want you to know why. I want you to know my why. And even speaking on that, a lot of times people say, their child is their why. I'm my why.
Right.
I can't be my best version for myself or my son if I'm not picking me first.
Yes.
My son is, hey, he receives, the repercussions of what I'm doing for myself.
Right.
But I'm my why.
Yeah.
Because I'm choosing me every single day because I have to.
That's
because
right.
I don't choose on folding. I don't want to fold in life. I don't choose to give up. But the traumas do exist.
Yes.
However, I know that there is a reason that they've existed in me. God chose me.
Yes.
But they do not define who I am as a person and who I choose to show up in the world to be.
Yes.
But I actually have gone to therapy.
Yeah.
I've actually chosen to journal. There's things that none of my therapists know about.
Right.
Because I had to release it for me when I was ready to release it for me. Purposely Naked allows a person to go anywhere they want to. They can sit on a couch, they can sit on a plane, they can be in the restroom, they can be on their lunch break. It is a time for you to be so intentional and so free within yourself. From anybody that's 12 years and up, they can do it.
Right.
And honestly, a 9-year-old who's equipped and who wants to speak and wants to express, I don't shun any child who wants to actually go there.
Yes.
Right? But I do say that it is a time families can sit in a family dynamic. My son he'll be 21 this year.
Right.
It is so amazing to know that he's been working on his journal.
Yes.
Right? Because the thing is, he will be a better version of himself at my age.
Right.
Because guess what? A lot of the things that he's actually going through in his life, and he's able to address and write and journal, that's him freeing himself.
That's
so when
right.
he turns 25, 30, he's already freed himself.
Yes.
So the man he will show up to be in the world will already have gone ahead and been like, okay, I needed therapy for this particular situation.
Right.
I released it. Let me go ahead and go talk to a therapist. Right? So many times I met people who have said that they don't need therapy, but then I'm just like,
Right.
You're talking right now, and I know you need somebody.
Yes.
You know, maybe
That's
just
right.
express yourself, maybe just journal, but you need to release.
That's right.
You know, as you mentioned, we all have been through trauma.
That's right.
Families, as you mentioned, individuals, community. So individually, as you mentioned about the parent needs to see themselves.
Yes.
You know, let me talk to the parents.
Yes.
You all deserve to actually be free within yourself and to own your story. A lot of people have burdens on themselves because of things that have happened that have actually happened to them.
Yes.
They didn't sign up for that, but it was given to them, right? A situation, my sexual assault was given to me. That happened to me. But that's not who I am. I don't have to define myself as this sexual assault survivor. I don't have to say that. But I've survived it, right? But even if I do want to say that I'm a survivor, that's nothing wrong because guess what? It happened. And that's my reality. And I'm not ashamed of it. It's not mine to carry. Right? But I'm living it. I'm living proof that it happened, but I'm also living proof that you can say, hey, this happened to somebody and now it's time to push on. There are so many people that are burdened in the world because their mom and dads were on drugs or their dad wasn't in a household. They were raised by grandparents. They may not even know their real mother. So many people were adopted. They don't know their real parents.
That's right.
That's your story.
That's your story.
That's your story. If your father is if your grandfather is your father, that's your story.
Yes.
Own your truth. There is something so amazing when you own your truth. When I say the sleep that I get at night. From me just being okay with the molestations that nobody knew about, right? With the sexual assault that I did mention, but then I was condemned when I went to the police station and mentioned it, okay? Because it was a star athlete who actually had assaulted me. So I go into the police precinct and his pictures, plattered
Posted
all
up
around,
everywhere.
right? And then I'm asked, why would he choose you? Excuse me? I'm a young girl coming to you about something that just happened to me. And this is what I'm greeted with. So that happened to me. But does that define me?
No, not at all.
It's just an experience.
That's right.
Choose to get purposely naked for yourself.
That's right.
Own it. There's also segments in there where you can write a letter to yourself. You can write a letter to your mother, to your father. Even if you don't know your mother and father, you can still write a letter. Write a letter. You can write it and get it out of you because there is something about getting it out of you. Everything isn't for everybody. This isn't my story. Purposely Naked isn't about me. I do give dialogue, but it's not about me. It's about you.
That's right.
It's about you. I want you to get purposely naked for yourself. I want you to have the freedom. I want you to, even if this is the beginning to a therapy session, go there. Uncover. Be okay. So many times we get dressed up to look a certain way, makeup, hair, nails, whatever that might be. But then it's like we go home and we don't want to look at ourselves because of the scars and the things that we know that we've actually been through. But we can show up to the world as this person. I'm showing up to the world as me at all times. The same image that I see in the mirror, I give that to the world. And I'm okay with Tamara. Nothing no one can say out here in the world would make me feel any kind of way about myself. I'm not going to be, you can't shun upon me. You can't make me feel bad. I'm good with me.
And you know what? That's that place of security. That comes with time. That comes with first of all, everybody's hearing us say intentionality. Owning your story, making sure that you are not ashamed of what you've gone through. It may be ashamed of the incident or the incidents that took place, but know that story can turn into your glory. You can take the situations that you've gone through. You can take some of these tools that Tamara's talking about now in the book. Self-assessment, analyzing yourself, ask yourself these questions to think about those areas, because sometimes we don't know what all areas we're hurt in. We don't really know exactly what hurt us about this situation or how deep it is until we ask specific questions, and it kind of jogs us and say, wait a minute, I didn't realize I was that bruised there.
Man.
And so we hear Tamara talking about, where she is now. I hear you talking about where you are now, where you've come to, being satisfied with who you are, walking in your confidence and your boldness, in spite of, in spite of the past, in spite of what you have experienced, may be experiencing now, you still have a level of confidence based upon you saying, you know what, I got to be intentional about me, about getting me together so that I can be better for me. And by default, you're better for everybody who comes in contact with you. And so, we at the block, we're talking about the individuals, we're talking about the communities, we're talking about all those who make up the communities, because the individuals make up the totality of that community. And so, we know that sometimes these tools that Tamara was talking about helps to deal with the individual, and by default will affect every person that individual come in contact with. It will transform homes, because now if each individual deals with their trauma or deal with how they're feeling or their insecurity, anything that they're that's bothering them internally, now they become better for one another. Now the family becomes healed. Now the family can now be effective outside of the home, because it's always, it's old saying that said it starts in the home. A lot of times we say that, but we don't really know the depth of it. Because it really starts in the home, meaning the negative responses that you see in a child can start in the home. The positive actions in the child starts in the home. The adults, the communication, because a lot of adult issues are unhealed childhood issues.
True.
Childhood things that have never been healed, they've never dealt with. And so now that's how they affect, as they're talking to their mothers and grandmothers. You can hear the arguing and the hurt and the pain, because something may have happened 25 years ago that they never talked about it. At one time, and this is something I'm so glad in the community, block community, that now you see people dealing with mental health more than they used to. It used to be a time when the family, we didn't deal with mental health issues. We didn't deal with, get over it. Go lay down somewhere. Go get you some rest. Get over it, because we don't have time to deal with that. We got to work. We got to go to school. You still got to go to school and get your assignment. You come home and you get a spanking for something that was internal, is the reason why you're acting out at school. But the belt was how we dealt with the internal issues, not knowing that child was hurting. That child was screaming for attention. And so that's why this today, Purposely Naked, and that title itself, being naked on purpose, and it's on Tamara's beautiful shirt there. Being naked is on purpose and so intentional. I started reading this book, and it really got me thinking about my life, questions I had never asked myself. And I'm like, wow, I had never thought about that. And so we're talking about individual and a community trauma, and we know sometimes they correlate with each other.
Most definitely.
There's a chapter in the book, chapter 5, and it talks about chapter 4. This is week 4, and she said that she divided a book into weeks, and it talks about environmental impact. The first, I want to read a question from it. It said, do you like the environment in which you were raised? These are questions that you ask yourself in the book, and then you answer the question. It says, did you like the environment in which you were raised? Why or why not? What did you like most about the environment? What was your least favorite thing? The second question says, was you ever homeless? If so, for how long? How old were you at the time? Tamara, I want to ask you, dealing with environmental impact, and it kind of correlates with what we're talking about now, why are those questions important?
Because you need to know where you came from. What's your foundation?
Right.
As you mentioned, individually, we have to deal within ourselves, but the community, our communities in which we grew up actually have a major impact on us.
Yes.
So your household, how many people lived inside your house, the people that were actually inside your house, those individuals. And as you said earlier, have they actually dealt with their traumas? Are they passing it along to everybody else? All the children in the home? And then you have to think about, once you go outside, who's your influence? Who are you actually choosing to be with? It may not even be a person. It could be a situation. It could be, hey, I always want to go to the park. Everybody's at the park.
Right.
You know, I just want to go over there. I know what they're doing is not necessarily the best thing,
Yeah.
but everybody's going over there. I want to just be a part of that. You know, this
Mm.
gives me a chance to get outside the house and go and just chill amongst people my age, or
Yeah.
just see what the grown folks are doing, or
Right.
whatever it might be.
Right.
But your environment, and I can speak to that as far as my environment.
Yeah.
So growing up in the neighborhood I grew up in, I seen a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
I seen people drug addicts. I
Mhm.
seen people that were pushing it.
Yeah.
And so what I can tell you is there were these two women that, adult women,
Mhm.
and I would see them high
Yeah.
off crack.
Yeah.
I knew what they were doing.
Mhm.
But one day, these women were doing cheers. And they were
Mm.
doing cheers. And I was a little girl, I was probably 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And they were doing cheers. And then they were encouraging one another. And I'm laughing because it was just hilarious to
Yeah.
me. But I was like, what are they doing?
Right.
And they were doing cheers. And then they were stopping. And then they'll do like a cartwheel.
Yeah.
Cartwheel and then break out in the splits.
Right.
And as I was watching, I was just like, they're on that stuff that my granny be talking about. I never want to do any of that.
Right.
So I never wanted to smoke.
Yeah.
I saw what, drinking, or how people would be in the neighborhood, drunk, pulling up, loud music,
Right.
talking loud and all that kind of stuff. I just
Yeah.
knew that I didn't want to be amongst that.
Yes.
Because of what I saw that it was doing in the community. I went to school with some of these kids whose
Yeah.
mom and dads were out here either pushing or either on drugs.
Right.
So these were my friends.
Yeah.
And so I saw what the environment was doing
Right.
to us.
Right.
No
Yeah.
matter if you're partaking, it's still impacting
That's
you.
right.
So that was my environmental impact. So that's why I wrote that, because I
That's
know that
powerful.
foundation comes.
Yes.
And so I made a conscious decision
Yeah.
to not partake in a lot of different things, because really I was scary. You
Right.
know, some
Right.
of my friends, they didn't know who didn't live in my neighborhood. They
Yeah.
may have just thought like, oh, she don't want to do it. Oh, you a punk. Oh, you
Yeah.
this, you that. No, I see what's going on around here in the
That's right.
neighborhood. You know what I
Mm.
mean? You don't live in my neighborhood. You
Mhm.
don't know what I'm seeing when I'm sitting outside on the porch or I'm riding my bike.
Mhm.
I don't want to be a part of that.
Now, that right there, and I don't mean to interrupt
No,
you,
you're fine.
but that's so important, because, and this is really to the young people,
Mhm.
because you took accountability for yourself
Mhm.
and you made a decision not allowing the environment to impact you or affect you negatively.
Negatively.
You could have chose to do everything that you saw them
Mhm.
doing, but you made a conscious decision upon yourself
Yeah.
being around that environment.
Mhm.
You could have easily said, you know what, I'm going to succumb to this. And so I want to speak to the young people. If you get a hold to this, listen to what Tamara is saying, is that she made a decision in the midst, and it's not that she didn't come from dysfunction at home or seeing it in her family. It's not that she didn't come from that. Those factors were around her, but she took upon herself to say, you know what? I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to let this negatively affect me. She knew she was better than what she was seeing,
Yes.
you know.
Exactly. And even with that being said, a lot of my peers would make fun, and have things to say. Girls that I was friends with that I
Yeah.
thought were my closest friends that,
Yeah.
once again, they didn't live in the neighborhood,
Right.
but they also didn't see what I was seeing.
Right.
So it's like, girl, you don't want to drink. I can't believe you. You need to just
Yeah.
take a sip. It's like, no, I don't want any of that,
Right.
And a lot of times I would try to tell them, like, girl, don't do that. Like,
Yeah.
if I were you, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Or I would be the friend that would be watching, like,
Yeah.
hey, that's enough. Let me go ahead and grab that from you.
Right.
Right? Because they're going to do what they want to do.
They're gonna
But
do-
I
exactly.
would suggest not
Yeah.
to partake.
Right.
But as a friend, I would just watch to make sure
Yeah.
that they were covered, that they were
Yeah.
okay, that nothing
Yeah.
happened to them.
Yes.
But I didn't want to partake.
Yes.
It was just like, I'm not, have
Yeah.
I drank before? Yes, I
Yeah.
have. But
Right.
it wasn't something that I wanted to. I'm good on that.
And you know what?
I don't
It's the and that's power. That's strong to be able to have that will to say, you know what? No, that's not for me.
No.
And so I really believe that this book, and you mentioned earlier that from 9 on up.
From 12 on up. But somebody who's 9
Yeah.
definitely can manage it and handle it. I mean,
Because the information in the book and the questions that's being asked, a lot of young people may not have, based upon where they come from and what they've gone through. They may need to have a tool like this to self-assess
Yes.
and to really ask themselves those questions so that they can be built up and become strong enough to say no.
to say no. And it really is coaching you along the way.
Yeah.
It's like, as you mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
it was questions that you had never thought about,
Never
and
thought
you're a
about.
social worker.
Yeah.
Right? I've had so many therapists.
Yeah.
I know some other social workers
Yeah.
who actually have mentioned to me, Tamara, I've never even asked this
Never
question.
even
I
asked
never
it.
even thought to ask this
Yeah.
question. But I can say, which is a great testament,
Yeah.
that I've had different therapists who actually have used the book in their
Yeah.
therapy sessions now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Oh, that's
actually, yes,
awesome.
they've gifted one particular therapist. She's actually gifted a few
Yeah.
of her clients.
Wow.
Yeah, and so one is so amazing because this was such an amazing review. She said one of her clients came back and had things to talk about.
Wow.
Oh, I never told you about this. And from me actually doing my journaling,
Yeah.
I'm now able to tell you about this because I didn't even realize this was bothering me.
Come on.
You know, because a lot of times we don't know what's bothering us. Some
We
people,
don't.
just imagine, some kids are 6 and 7
Yeah.
and have this fiery spirit and they don't know why.
They have no idea.
Right? But they want to go out and go fight. They want to push. They want to hit the dogs. You know,
Where did it come from?
They don't, but they don't even know. They're
They don't even know.
6.
Right.
They're 7. They
Right.
have no idea.
That's right.
Why?
Right.
Let's have a conversation. What's
Right.
going on?
That's right.
You know, when did that start happening? Parents have to really pay attention to their kids. And I'm going to take y'all somewhere. Be careful where you take your children, who you
Right.
leave your children with.
Right.
Family members, taking them to church.
Yeah.
Okay? Once again, taking them to church.
Right.
When they're with their coaches.
Yeah.
You know, all these athletes, you know, all of these athletes, and they're
Yeah.
here at these different school functions. People are touching kids because people have not taken care of themselves.
That's
There are
right.
a lot of adults
That's right.
that are sick individuals
Yes.
that have not gotten the help, that they
That's right.
need because they have not been honest
Right.
to receive the help, or some of them have gotten caught in situations,
Yes.
but they're still out here and they're predators.
Yes.
But I just say to any parent, be careful who you take your child around, and then pay attention also to your children's mannerism.
Yes.
You know, when we were growing up, a lot of times you would hear in our era during the time where what goes on in this house stays in this house. That is one of the worst things that a
Terrible.
family can do.
Oh, it's
What goes on in this
crippled
house
families.
stays in this house. So all of the trauma that we're all in here experiencing has
Right.
to stay in here.
Right.
So we can't seek help.
Right.
But everybody in here is having a real issue.
Yes.
Starting from the mom, the father, the
Yes.
siblings, everybody.
Yes. Yes.
That is one of the worst things.
Oh,
I think it's
man.
just such an ignorant.
It's destroyed families.
Oh my
destroyed
gosh.
Children.
And then you
individuals.
take it to the church house and let's pray it away.
No.
We need to talk.
No. Communication.
I need to communicate.
That's right.
I told my son, who will be 21 this year,
Yeah.
he's always had an open space with me.
Yes.
You can be honest and be respectful.
That's important. Listen to this, parents.
Honest and respectful. My
Yeah.
son, as I mentioned, he'll be 21 this year. He can always talk to me. And he knows that about there's nothing off the table with us. Whatever you want to say, he can say, Mom, I'm going to tell you something.
Yeah.
I don't want you to say anything.
Right.
I just want you to listen.
Yes.
He has that with me.
He has that
He's
space.
had that since he was a little boy.
That's awesome.
And so him being able to communicate has allowed my son to be able to express himself well.
Right.
He communicates very, very well.
Yes.
Why? Because I didn't shun him. I didn't stop him from talking.
Yes.
It is it is so detrimental to our children when we tell our kids not to talk.
Right.
You know, parents are talking, adults are talking. I understand respect.
Yes.
But is there something that your kid need to tell you right there in that moment that's
Right.
happening in the other room and you're telling them that 2 parents are talking or 2 adults are talking?
Right.
Maybe they're coming out to tell you something is
right.
happening back here while you and I are
Necessary.
having a conversation.
Yeah.
We have to be careful.
Yeah.
We hurt our own children.
Yeah. Shut them down.
Shut them down. And as you mentioned, they go outside, the
Right.
environment. And I always tell my son,
Right.
know what you want to do. Because
Yeah.
guess what? If you don't, there's somebody in the world
Yes.
that's waiting on a person just
Oh,
like
man.
you. They are
Oh, man.
waiting on a vessel that they can utilize.
That's right.
And so you as a child, so I'm talking to all the kids, I'm talking to the young teenagers, the
Yeah.
young adults, know what it is that you want to do for yourself because
Right.
baby, if you don't, there's somebody out there with a whole agenda for you
Yes.
that you're not even ready for.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, you may be so stuck one day
Yes.
in a situation that you have not even thought to ever be in. Why?
Right.
Because you didn't even take the time to understand who you were.
Right.
You didn't take the time to say, okay, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Understand yourself.
Yes.
Understand yourself.
Important.
And you have to. And Purposely Naked really helps you to go there.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
more on the way. This
Oh, yeah.
this isn't the first.
Oh, I'm sure.
Right?
I'm sure.
Because this is the beginning of something. I want
Yes.
people, no matter the age. I have an amazing man who's over 60 that came back and bought another book.
Yeah.
And I never met this guy, don't know him, but he bought a book online.
Yeah.
And he ended up sending me a message, and it was so amazing. He said, I never would have thought at my age
Yeah.
that you could tell me
Right.
something about me.
That's awesome.
And I was just like,
That's
wow.
awesome. It's ageless.
It's ageless.
It's ageless.
It's ageless.
And you know, Tamara, and if you all notice, she speaks with so much passion, about this subject because it's in her heart. This is something that's in her heart, something that she, she's really passionate about. She wants to see not only for herself, but once you get delivered from something, it's second nature to want to see somebody else free like you're free. When you get delivered, when you get freed up, when you start having confidence, and your insecurities are starting to move away because you know how they held you down.
Yes.
And the bondage that it creates for your life as far as your relationships and your individuality. When you get freed up from that, that's the passion that you see
Yeah.
as she's talking about this subject. And so there's another chapter in the book, week 5. It says, allowing my inner child, kind of correlates with what we're talking about. Allowing my inner child to feel and be heard. Allowing my inner child to feel and be heard. The first question says, do you know that your inner child needs to speak and be heard? Please understand that your inner child still lives within you. Sometimes when people begin their journey of inner work, they expect to hear from their inner child. My response is to speak to and for your inner child and say what you would have liked to have said as a child. And then she goes on to ask questions. Why is it important to allow your inner child to be felt and heard? And you just mentioned, you talked about that, but can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah.
Why that chapter, why that week was important?
It was really important because I had a friend who actually, her and I, we were having a very in-depth conversation, and she
Yeah.
was actually doing some inner work.
Yeah.
And she said, well, I want my younger self to talk to me.
Yeah.
And I said, no, you can talk to your younger self.
Mm.
Talk to your younger self, and then
Yeah.
allow her to hear from you and speak what you wanted to speak as a child.
Yes.
And we did this whole exercise,
Mhm.
and she ended up calling me like maybe about 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
And she said, Tamara, and I had no idea what she was talking about.
Yeah.
She was like, it worked. And I
Yeah.
was like, what worked? And she ended up explaining to me, she said, I actually did what you said. I actually spoke for her and to her. I apologized to her. I had suggested to write a letter to her, which I mentioned in the book.
Yeah.
She wrote a letter to her younger self, and she said it gave her the ultimate, like the most, she was just so free after this happened.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. I said, because if you're waiting on her to talk to you, she doesn't have the words, sweetie.
Right.
Your younger self may not have the words.
That's right.
But it may have the words, but give yourself that time, right?
Yes.
But you have to basically go there with intention. You
Yes.
don't know what you're able to do if you're not necessarily intentional
That's
about
right.
it.
That's
so
right.
sit down, take the time, express
Yes.
yourself.
Yes.
And so really our inner being, you know, my situations that happen are why I parent the way I parent.
Right.
Right? That
Right.
was from my little self, my younger self.
Yes.
That still shows up in how I parent.
Yes.
So if I'm not honest and I'm not willing to say, hey, this happened to me.
Yeah.
Why am I so reserved as a woman? You
Right.
know, why are I just very reserved?
Yes.
Well, because guess what? Somebody took advantage of me. And somebody that I was still reserved back then. But that was what was attractive to that person too. Right?
Right.
And so me understanding myself and understanding my self-worth now,
Yes.
I understand that I don't have to say the person's name, because I just did an interview last month, and the producer asked, you know, do you say, you know, the guy's name? And I said, why I need to say his name?
Right.
I've said my truth.
Right.
My truth is my truth.
And that's
I don't.
it.
His name doesn't need to be
Nameless.
spoken for me.
That's right.
Right. But I had to give myself, my inner being, my 19-year-old self, the freedom of her. Right. To be able to say, listen, you were around somebody that you trusted, that you thought was a friend, that took advantage of you.
Yes.
That's your truth.
Yes.
So I can speak to her. I can apologize to her. The things that she thought was okay, that weren't okay. Because why can I say it's not okay? Because it was taken advantage of, right? So me being able to speak to my younger self, write to my younger self, that has freed such, you know, it's given me such freedom.
That's awesome.
So that's why I say give yourself, your inner child, the space and the opportunity to talk. Because when we're going through things in lifetime, we don't even, as I mentioned, surviving. You know, you're a kid. You don't even know how to formulate your words. You don't know what this is. You don't know that somebody, you know, just imagine, you know, you're being touched by an uncle or aunt or somebody in the church. Your parents have taken you to this space. And so a lot of times, that's why I say, parents, be careful who you take your child around, because your child would think that this is okay because you took me to this space. You had me around these people.
Yes.
So I'm thinking that these people are okay because they're okay when you're around.
Right.
So I'm thinking they're okay when you're not around.
And see,
giving your inner child the opportunity to say, hey,
yes,
you can name it in the book.
yeah,
You know, right?
Yep.
You can say, hey, this is what happened to me.
Yeah.
These are the things that happen. And guess what? I'm telling you, so often, more often than not, do you realize why your characteristics of your adulthood show up the way that they do. And a lot of times it's symbolic to something that happened when you were younger.
And you know what? That's an excellent answer. That's an excellent answer. And this is, so as we get ready to close, and I tell you, we can sit and talk all
I
day.
know, I love it.
You are, first of all, with this book, what is your main purpose? What do you want people to, as after they finish reading this book and as they're reading this book, and you've talked about it, what do you want them to gain?
I want them to gain self-confidence, self-awareness, and to just show up in the world good.
Yeah.
Show up, because you know what? I really feel like once you really uncover yourself and you just remove everything inner, your outward is just so much better.
Yeah.
And therefore you show up in the world and you're able to show up passionate like me. You're able to want to help the next generation.
Yes.
And a lot of people, and I'm real talk, a lot of people are out here in positions, they're writing books about themselves, their story, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But they're not even getting healed. Right? There are some people in situations who have higher power that are actually overseeing children.
Yeah.
But they're not even naked yet.
Yes.
So I feel like anybody who actually takes the time to get naked, you show up differently and you can show up a better service.
Ooh, that's powerful.
You can show up as better service to somebody else.
Yes.
Because guess what? I don't mind serving the next person.
That's right.
I don't mind trying to help the next mom or even a man. Let me talk to y'all men real quick. Y'all are loved. There is so much happening right now in the world with all this domestic violence.
Yes.
Men are killing women. They're killing their families, their kids. There's a lot going on. We love y'all. We need y'all. We need you all. You all are needed in our community.
Yes.
I'm telling you, you're needed. You are more valuable as a human being on this earth. Choose to get naked. If something happened to you as a kid, settle in with that within yourself and quit letting it deter you and take over your life and you being a menace to society out here. People need to really understand that, hey, we all have trauma, as you mentioned in the very beginning. We all have it, but what are we going to do with it? I want people to recognize their trauma, become self-aware, and go out here and be naked on purpose.
Yes.
Okay?
Woo!
On purpose.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Listen, Block community, that right there is in a nutshell. I'm so excited. I just I got to pause for a minute because just to see Tamara's with that level of passion and knowing that she's living this, that she's day to day with this. That's it. That's it. We're gonna close this episode. But one thing I want to say is this: please be intentional about getting this book. Please be intentional about doing the work that the book allows you to do. And so I want to read something from this book right quick. And I want you to say it for those who are listening. Say this out loud with me. This is, today, I take accountability for my actions. I apologize for the disservice that I have caused to myself and others. I am forgiving to people who have wronged me, including myself. I declare that my past doesn't dictate my future. I am present in this moment, and I love myself for choosing me today.
Yes.
That is powerful. That is powerful. And so Tamara, where can they, if somebody wants you to speak in engagements and also for your book, where can they find you?
You all can find the book at www.foryourbetterment.org. You can also find me there where you can actually connect with me, where we can set up any time to talk, also for coaching, for books, for speaking engagements. But I do want to surprise your guests too and say that I'm going to actually donate 2 books to 2 of your subscribers. You can choose however you want to do it, but I do want 2 individuals to receive a copy of Purposely Naked.
We're going to make it happen.
We're going to make it happen. I want however you choose to, but I want you all to be intentional. And when you complete it, please reach out to me. Please reach out to me because I honestly want to know, how did it impact you? And let's have a discussion. Let's just have a discussion about it.
Let's do this. So like and subscribe to the Block Podcast on Facebook and also on YouTube. The first 2 people that like and subscribe, I need you to put your name in that box. And then we're going to get in contact because, of course, I don't want put your email, and then I'll reach out, and then I'll get personal information, and we'll get those books to those
Yes.
individuals, and we'll make sure that this has been wonderful, Tamara.
Yes. And I was also going to say on all platforms, you all can find me at Purposely Naked.
Awesome.
So at Purposely Naked, you can find me, and I love to chat with you all and look forward to my upcoming podcast as well. So go ahead and find me out there.
Yes.
Subscribe to my channels as well, and we'll stay in contact.
Let's do it. Let's do
Yes.
it. Thank you,
Thank
Tamara
you.
Greene. And this is the surprise I wanted to give to you guys. This is my sister, everybody.
Yay!
This is my sister. And
Yes.
I tell you, I get emotional because this is somebody that I love. I can't even describe it.
Mm.
I can't even describe how much I love her. And for coming on the block, for being a part of this beautiful
Todd.
day, we want to give you a gift.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I know you're connected. Thank you.
And
I appreciate you.
And that is the block.
Thank you so
That's
much.
This T-shirt right here. Everybody can see that's the
Yes.
block T-shirt.
Yes.
We want to say thank you for coming on the block.
Thank
Again, like and
you.
subscribe to the block on Facebook and podcast.
I love it.
And YouTube. Listen, we're going to get ready to close, but we're excited about next week and the rest of this year. As you all can see the gray shirt right there that she has. Hey, we are the block, where we indulge in conversations that build relationships, implement strategies, and create solutions for community reform. Join us next week as we continue this journey on the block.
Let's get back to the trust between you and me. Let's get back to the time when the fuss was. It's not me, it's not you, but it's us, cuz we the